Welcome everyone. So I have been receiving a number of questions based on this mitosis, meiosis and fertilization and how are they involved in this life. Okay. So you would be knowing that the entire life cycle, let it be right from hear about the prokaryotes, hear about them in bacteria, in all eukaryotes, the entire life cycle until humans, right from a basic organism, plants, whatever organisms, eukaryotic organisms we have, until humans, the entire life cycle, okay, is nothing but a repeated mitosis, meiosis, and fertilization, especially mitosis. Okay, so we will talk the runs of these three, okay, in a organism's life. Okay, so. So first, before moving into this, okay, the one thing that we are supposed to know is something called as diploid and something called as haploid. So we call it as ploidy, diploid and haploid, and generally our book says diploid as 2n and haploid as n. So what does it mean? So is something related to the chromosome number. So we all know our cells are all made up of nucleus. So nucleus in turn has got chromosome. So in case of human, we know that we have 23. We call it as 23 pair. So what is 23 pairs? Say chromosome 1, chromosome 2, pair. So each into 2. Okay. So which means that let's take chromosome 1. The chromosome 1 chromosome we get it from the father and 1 chromosome we get it from mother. So each and every chromosome will be present in pair. So hence we are all basically diploid. So that's what it means. So we are basically half our father, half our mother. Okay, so each and every if each and every chromosome is present in pair, we will call it as diploid. So how about if it is going to be single, then it is called as haploid. So usually gametes are haploid. Okay, gametes are haploid. So they contain either of the father chromosome or mother chromosome. So each and every chromosome will be represented, okay, in one number. Okay. So these two, and you might keep asking, say, how about if the chromosome numbers are going to be 3, 4? Then you call it as triploid and tetraploid. Okay, so these two are the basic definitions, terms that we are supposed to know before we proceed with this topic. Okay, I hope you will be clear with diploid, haploid, triploid, tetraploid, everything. Okay, so usually, tetraploid, triploid, we don't see it in animals generally, but we see it in plants. Okay. Now, let me consider a cell, okay, with this chromosome with F and M. So I'll call this as 2n. So let me consider just one chromosome which is formed in pair. One from father, one from mother. So I call this as 2n, which is basically diploid. Right? So when this cell has to divide, because cell division is the basic process through which the life growth happens, the life progresses, right? So when this cell divides, it has got two options. So one is mitosis, the other one is meiosis. So in case if it undergo mitosis, I'll have the same type of cell, okay, as I have here. So obviously mitosis will produce two different types of cells. So I'm not getting into those details, but my point is the mitosis produces, okay, same thing. So this is also going to be diploid. 2n. This is also diploid. So I call this to be equational division. Okay, equational division. So what happens is the resultant cells are pretty similar to the parent cell. Okay, there's going to be no difference. Whereas in meiosis, okay, so this is going to produce a cell with either F or M. So it might be, the chromosome might be F here, or the chromosome might be M here. So now this is a different cell. Okay, this is a different cell. So each has got only one representative of the chromosome. So I call this as haploid. Okay, I call this as haploid. So here the ploidy is reduced. So the parent cell is 2n, the daughter cell is n. Okay, n. So I call this to be reductional division. Okay. So if you have any queries about mitosis and meiosis, you are welcome to post those queries in comment section, or in description you would find my contact details. So if you give me your queries, okay, I'll try to clear it either by video or through message. Okay, you are always welcome. So this is basically mitosis and meiosis. Hope you would have understood. So mitosis is basically an equational division. Meiosis is reductional division. So your ploidy is reduced. Okay. So you have to. So now you have understood what ploidy is, what is basically mitosis, what is basically meiosis, and remember I haven't gone into the details of mitosis and meiosis. Okay. I've just given an overview. So I hope this video will be especially for beginners. Okay, so now there's not much information for those people who are in the advanced level of biology. But my target is for those people who are at the beginning stage. Okay, right. So with these details, so now we have to know where is this mitosis employed, where is this meiosis employed, and where is the role of fertilization. So for us to understand, see, as I said, each and every organism has got this mitosis, meiosis, fertilization. So for us to understand with clarity, so we will take an example of human as the example. So you all know, we'll start from the basic. There's going to be the male gamete, which is sperm, plus female gamete, which is ovum. Okay, so these both combine and it produces zygote, right? Zygote. Now this sperm is haploid, this ovum is haploid, and zygote is diploid, and I call this process as fertilization, right? So zygote is formed inside the uterus. Okay. Now this zygote, it keeps growing. So we all know that the zygote is formed something, in the beginning of the pregnancy. So zygote keeps growing. So at the end of 3 trimester, 9 months, the zygote develops into a baby. Okay, and the baby gets delivered by childbirth, or you scientifically you call it as a parturition. Now, so we are all listening to this video where previously baby, so which means that our size would have been of this size. Okay, now we keep increasing in length, height, weight, which means that cell keeps dividing, number of cells keeps dividing. Okay, so a cell in baby is going to be diploid. Okay, so this is 2n. Say for example, this is a single cell, or technically I have to call it as a 2 cell. Okay, which will be if you get into the details of reproductive physiology, zygote is 2 cell, but we'll call it as a single cell here. So this is going to have millions of cells. Okay, millions of cells. So from single cell, how does the millions of cells are obtained? And further growth, further growth into adults. Okay, so there's going to be further increase in cell number. Okay, so how are these divisions happening? Okay, now you know that everything is diploid. So the division is basically mitosis. Okay, so we have mitosis division happening here. So from zygote, okay, till today, all our body cells will keep increasing in numbers or will keep dividing. So the basic division involved here is mitosis because our ploidy doesn't decrease, we are all basically diploid. I hope you are clear. Now, let this adult attains puberty, be it male or female attains puberty. So, which means that he is capable of reproducing. So he will be producing, say assume this adult to be a male, will be producing sperm, okay, in sex organ called as testes. Sperms will be produced. Okay, so when this adult produces sperm, okay, so which is formed from germ cell present in testes, okay, germ cell present in testes which are diploid to sperm. So sperms are haploid. So the division is meiosis. You can very well say that division is because it is a reductional division. Similarly, a woman will produce ovum, okay, ovum from a diploid cell. So meiosis, and the division is going to, ploidy is going to be N. So when this sperm and this ovum combines, okay, so you can see here N plus N, fertilization, you get a zygote. So in the entire, if you see the entire life of a man, first mitosis, then meiosis, I should say first fertilization, then because first he is formed from zygote. For zygote to be formed, fertilization is important. So fertilization, mitosis, meiosis. So without any of these processes, life is totally not possible. So I have taken example of human for us to understand with more clarity. But any organism if you take, leave about the prokaryote or bacteria, leaving that any organism you take, you will see the importance of mitosis, meiosis and fertilization. So to summarize here, I have to say mitosis maintains ploidy, meiosis reduces the ploidy and fertilization restores the ploidy. Okay, so this is in case of human. Okay, so next we will also take plant. Let's take plant and see how things, how these things are applied in a life cycle of plant. So let us take a plant. So the very most common plant, okay, that we are familiar with, especially in South India, is hibiscus. So each and every one of our home will have a hibiscus plant. Okay, let's take an hibiscus. So you see the entire plant, right? So root, stem, leaf. You call that to be sporophyte. So again, I am not getting into the, some might get the questions on what sporophyte is. So this is not my intention here to describe what sporophyte is. So if you have any queries or something, I'll make it as a separate video. Okay. So sporophyte. So the sporophyte is here is the vegetative structures, that is the root, stem, leaf, everything is sporophyte. So the sporophyte will, which means that it should also have flower. Okay, in flower, and hibiscus is bisexual. She has got both the androgyme, the male part as well as the female part, stamen and pistil. So this will produce pollen grain. You all know what pollen grain is. So pollen grain will have the male gamete, and in case of gynoecium, there is going to be an ovule which has got an embryo sac, and embryo sac has got the female gamete. So this is how the thing goes in plant. So sporophyte is basically diploid. So it produces, okay, pollen grain. Pollen grain will have the male gamete. So this is going to be haploid. This is going to be haploid. Okay. So in case of this female, it is going to be the embryo sac which is present in ovule. which is N, which has got the egg, which is again N. So which means that this division should be, this is 2N, this is N. So this division should be meiosis. Okay, this division should be meiosis, and these, when these two combine, there is going to be zygote, which is again N plus N is 2N. This is going to be fertilization. Okay, this is going to be fertilization. So zygote will develop into sporophyte. So sporophyte is 2N, zygote is 2N. So the division should be mitosis. Again, you could see the involvement of fertilization here, right? Fertilization, mitosis, as well as meiosis, right? Without which the life of plant is not possible. So I say, in case you want to remove mitosis, you will see the plant to be at the zygote stage itself. So it won't develop into the sporophyte, which means roots, stem, and leaves. Or if you are going to remove this meiosis, you don't see the gamete formation, so plant cannot further propagate through sexual means, sexual reproduction. Okay, so this is in case of plant. Okay, so in case of fungi, say in higher plants or higher animals like humans, you know that we are basically diploid. So first meiosis followed by fertilization. But in case of fungi, it is going to be the other way. Fungi except oomites. Except oomites class. It's a class of fungi. So except that, the rest of all fungi are basically haploid. So as we are diploid, they are haploid. So which means that okay, from fungi, gametes will be produced, male gamete, female gamete. Gametes are basically haploid, so fungi is also basically haploid. So division should be mitosis, right? So when these gametes will combine, zygote will be formed. So I hope the letter is clear. Zygote, this is zygote will be formed. So this is basically diploid. Now zygote will develop into new fungi. So this zygote will undergo, this is 2N, this is N, fungi is N, so which undergo meiosis. So when this undergo meiosis, you get this fungi. Okay, meiosis. Okay, so here you see this is going to be the fertilization. So here you see fertilization precedes meiosis. Why? Because the basic ploidy of fungi is going to be N. So N, gametes N. Here you have this mitosis, as I have written here. This is mitosis, fertilization, and meiosis. Okay, a new fungi will be formed. So every bag, that's the reason actually, this zygote will never directly develop into fungi. It will develop into spores, and that spores are haploid, and those spores will give rise to fungi. So that's the reason why sexual spores and fungi are called as meiotic spore. Your book would have given this statement: sexual spores and fungi are termed as meiotic spore. Okay, so fungi do produces asexual spore from fungi directly. See, for example, this is going to be the fungi. Okay, so a spore will be formed. This spore will develop into a new fungi. So this fungi is N, this fungi is N. Okay, this fungi is N. So this spore, which is asexual spore, okay, is also N. So this asexual spore are mitotic spore. Because that's not because asexual reproduction doesn't involve fertilization. Okay, so that's not something which is not sexual is asexual. What is sexual? Sexual means gamete should be there, gamete should fuse, fertilization should be there. That's the very basic definition of sexual reproduction. So asexual reproduction, you don't expect fertilization. So fertilization, if it is there, then it has to be sexual reproduction, right? So a spore is formed here. Okay, this spore is going to be, it is formed from N. and this spore will give rise to a new fungi. So the basic parent fungi is N, the spore is N, and the new fungi is also N. So there is no involvement of meiosis or fertilization, because if meiosis is involved, fertilization should be there, either before or after. Okay, because something is reduced, it has to be restored. Something is added up, it has to be reduced. So something, the one thing that adds up is fertilization. The one thing that reduces is meiosis. Okay, so here being asexual, there is no fertilization, which means that there is no meiosis. So the asexual spores are called as mitotic spore. So at this end of this video, I hope you will be clear with what mitosis, what meiosis, what is fertilization, basics of it. I have not gone into the details. This is just an eye-opener video for those people who have just entered into the biology, and you will also know what ploid is, diploid and haploid. So in case you have any queries or related to this video or some other topic, you are welcome to give it in comments or personally mail me or WhatsApp me, and I would like to help you in getting the doubts clear. So kindly share this video, subscribe and pass on this video. See you in another session. Thank you so much.